And Buck, I think that's over. I think that's done. But
What do you mean?
I think his career is finished.
That line from 50 Cent hit hard because not long after, young Buck filed for bankruptcy, got hit with IRS debts, and even landed in jail over probation violations. His career collapsed in slow motion. And the real reason behind it all is way darker than fans ever knew. From the streets to stardom, let's kick it from the jump because Buck's come-up story is absolutely wild and sets the whole tone for everything that went down after. Growing up in Nashville, Tennessee, young David Brown wasn't living that easy life by any means. My G, he was moving around constantly throughout his childhood. From Seafright in North Nashville to South Nashville's J.C. Napier projects, then to the South 7 projects. By the time Shorty was just 8 years old, this little _ knew Nashville from the east to the west, top to bottom. Navigating through different hoods and experiencing all types of street life that would later influence his music heavy. To stack some bread and help out at the crib, young Buck was out there on his grind in every legit way possible. Pumping gas for tips, cutting lawns, washing whips, whatever it took to get a few dollars in his pocket. Music became his escape, his outlet, his whole dream. He started freestyling with his day ones, battling any who would step up to the challenge, slowly building a local buzz in Nashville's underground hip-hop scene. Now, here's where the story gets real interesting and shows Buck's early hustle mentality and hunger for that bag. Buck and his homie discovered a CD by BG, Chopper City, and on the back cover was a phone number for Cash Money Records. These two young cats, barely knowing what they was doing, actually called that number with a wild-ass idea. They told Cash Money they wanted to book them for a show in Nashville for around $5,000. Somehow, miraculously, they actually went through with booking that. Now, the performance
But what did happen was Buck and Lil Jimmy ended up meeting everybody at Cash Money Records. And the first thing that Birdman told Buck was to spit a freestyle for him, and he put him up against Lil Wayne at that time, and they went back and forth. And that ended up impressing Birdman. Buck ended up coming on with them and hopefully having his situation figured out as well. But as years went on, Buck said he spent 3 to 4 years with Cash Money and none of his music ever got released. He got essentially put on the back burner while the other artists on Cash Money like Lil Wayne, Juvenile, BG, so on and so forth ended up blowing up.
The only proof Buck has from his entire Cash Money run is an appearance in the Big Timmer's Big Ballin' music video. By 1999, Buck had had enough of that, __. He was watching everybody around him blow up while he sat on the bench. And he made the tough call to bounce from Cash Money and head back to Nashville to do things his own way. But those years weren't completely wasted, though. He learned invaluable game about the music business, made crucial connects, including DJ Paul from 36 Mafia and Juvenile, relationships that would prove essential later on. Back in Nashville, Buck linked up with his local squad and started grinding independently. No label backing, just straight hustle. On August 22, 2000, he dropped Thug Until the End with his homie DT. And something remarkable happened. This independent project actually charted on Billboard, hitting number 34 on the US R&B charts and number 17 on the US independent charts. For an independent release from an unknown Nashville rapper, this was huge. Buck managed to move roughly $10,000 worth of units, which might not sound like much compared to major label numbers, but for an indie artist doing everything himself out the trunk, it was significant. More importantly, it proved that this music thing could actually work, that there was a real audience for what he was spitting. Then came the wake-up call that changed everything. The moment that made him realize he had to choose one or the other.
And out of my ordeal back in the streets, I ended up getting shot in a home invasion and a robbery. One in the upper side area. It was enough for me to wake up and really realize that, yo, if this shit keep going on like this, I'm either get killed or I'm gonna go to jail. And I really realized that because I was getting down for real. Really started to devote more of my time to the music then, the studio, period.
After recovering from getting hit up during a home invasion robbery, Buck made a solid commitment to himself. No more street life, full focus on the music grind. And right when he needed it most, an opportunity came through his old Cash Money connection. DJ Paul from 36 Mafia, who had always been a huge fan of Buck's talent and his pen game, heard about the shooting and reached out. He had Project Pat scoop Buck up from Nashville and bring him to Memphis to lay down some tracks. Out of those sessions came Buck's first major album placement, Memphis on 36 Mafia's When the Smoke Clears 6661 album. This was the break Buck needed, that exposure that would set up what came next. But even then, despite the good look, Buck didn't end up signing with 36 Mafia. He was back in Nashville hustling independently, but now with more visibility and connects than ever before. But we getting ahead of ourselves, fam. Let's talk about how Buck actually ended up joining Gunit, because that story alone is absolutely crazy. The Gunit run and when got real. Birdman, his old connect from Cash Money, reached out once again with a proposition. Things had changed dramatically since Buck first tried to make it work with Cash Money back in the late 90s. By this point, Cash Money had absolutely blown up. Bigger offices, luxury whips everywhere. The whole operation had leveled up significantly. Birdman wanted Buck to join a new group he was putting together called Headbusses. Buck flew back to New Orleans, but history started repeating itself in the worst way possible. No cap. After sitting around for about a week waiting for things to pop off with no official paperwork being signed and no real movement on the promised deal, Buck started getting frustrated. He wasn't that same naive 14-year-old kid anymore. He was a grown-ass man with responsibilities, with things popping back home, and he didn't have time to waste sitting around. Then something serendipitous happened that changed the whole trajectory. Juvenile showed up at the Cash Money offices, shocked as hell to see Buck sitting there waiting around. Juvenile was in his own transition phase,
Juvie happened to pull up at the office, and when he pulled up, he was kind of shocked to see me there. I'm like, I've been here for a whole week. And he was like, man, you want to get up out of here for a minute? You know what I'm saying? And I took that ride with Juvie, and that's where my career started, with Juvenile.
Buck officially became part of Juvenile's UTP record label. But here's a crucial detail that shows Buck's street smarts even back then when Juvenile gave him the contract to sign. Buck took that __ home, put it under his bed, and never actually signed it. Real talk, that's Summite right there. He dropped 2 projects during this period. Born to be a Thug on October 10, 2002, and a compilation album with UTP Players on October 8, 2002. But technically, he was never officially signed on paper. Why would he do that? Because Buck was watching the game, learning from what he'd seen at Cash Money, and he peeped that Juvenile was having his own serious problems with Cash Money, his own personal beefs, and things weren't looking stable at all. At one point, Juvenile himself told Buck that if he came across a better opportunity, he should take it. Buck and Juvenile were on tour and their tour bus stopped in New York. This was 2002 and 50 Cent had the hottest buzz in New York. Literally the most talked about artist in the whole city. The streets was going crazy. The tour bus driver happened to have a connection to 50 Cent's former manager Shaw Money XL, and Buck kept pressing him. Kept asking if they could get 50 on the bus to potentially cook up some heat together. It actually happened. My G50 came on the tour bus, but he was there specifically to record with Juvenile, not with Buck. While Juvenile and 50 were in the back of the bus working on tracks together, Buck made a smart-ass move. He started playing some of his own solo joints for Lloyd Banks and Tony Yao, who were also on the bus. One track in particular caught Lloyd Banks's attention. Banks took that beat and brought it to the back of the bus where 50 was working. 50 ended up jumping on it, and that track would eventually become Bloodhound on the legendary Get Rich or Die Trying Out. Now, that wasn't actually the first track ever released with all 4.
A week after the deal fizzled out with UTP, 50 Cent ended up calling Young Buck and said, hey, we want that Bloodhound track. We'll pay you $20,000 for it. Let us put it on the album. And the track is getting mixed by Eminem and Dr. Dre.